So this is the way they typically come packaged, is in a flat rate envelope or something like you saw, and then a piece of cardboard so they don't get bent. And then there's two pieces, and then an envelope, of course. And then two pieces of paper to ensure that these are protected. And then this bag right here. So this is pretty awesome. So what do we got here? Well, one, so I've got these gray decals. They actually go on this blue Kenworth W900. The first batch I got they look good in the photos, and then I got them and I'm like, probably better redo those. And then I have some DOT numbers that I forgot to have printed for another project, and then a reprint of these stripes right here. And I will show you how they look on the real truck. Here's how these look on the real truck. This is a replica of Brady's truck, and this is a 379, and turned out really slick. Got the chino pipes and then just triaxle. He pulls a bull wagon with it, a cattle pot with it, and it just looks really, really cool. Perfect job on the decals. So a reprint of these, and then these are going to go on Justin's truck, and then we have Dalton's DOT numbers. So pretty cool there. About $50 worth of decals right there. All of these are reprints, of course, except for these. These are, instead of a light blue, these are now gray. But that's original work, and then that's a reprint. So we'll get rid of those. Next, I've got a Shapeways order here. This is a prototype of 4 bumpers. This is version 2.0. Why do I call it 2.0? Because the first version, they weren't quite perfect. They didn't work. So my designer that made them adjusted the files. I uploaded them to Shapeways and then ordered another print. Thus, the second version, 2.0. And here is the first one. This is a bumper for a T680, T660, and it also fits the 579, all 3 DCP trucks. Then, I didn't want to leave out the guys that are using Freightliners, the new style Freightliners. I got a couple versions of this bumper right here for the Freightliner guys, and those will fit other Aero style trucks, not just the Freightliner. Those will also fit T660, T680 if you want. The problem with these is that this does render the hood, if it opens, you can't open the hood anymore. And then voila. So here we have 3 versions of this same bumper. As you can see here, you have kind of a short bumper, a mid-sized, and then a tall one for full coverage of your hood, and then we have this herd bumper. Next, what we'll do is we'll see how this is going to fit on a T660. Here's a Diecast Promotions T660. I also grabbed a 579 so we can see how that one will work. The rear wheels of this one have been removed because this is supposed to get some treatment, and the guy has not sent any money in order to start, so I've chosen just to sit on this for a little while. But we'll go ahead and get started on this. There's one screw that holds this bumper on right here, as well as the 579. There's one screw that holds that bumper on. You can see from the front of these, they're very similar. I mean, there's not a lot of difference, and I think this bumper will work on both of these. At least that's the idea. This screw also holds that front suspension on. This was a stock T660 that I stripped down and repainted for a harvest crew that I have, just to add a really reasonably priced truck to that fleet. The front suspension has come completely off, which is not ideal, but we'll make that work. Hopefully we don't have to modify this as we put this onto the cab. It looks like this hole might need to be a little bit bigger. That's not a problem. I'd almost prefer to have that a little tight than too loose. So my preferred method to make holes bigger on this 3D stuff is to use a file and then to turn it in reverse like so. The reason for that is if you use a drill bit, the drill grabs and cuts, and this just kind of, I mean, it still cuts, but it's much less aggressive than if you were to use a drill bit. Basically, the idea here is we don't want to break that plastic. And using a file in reverse like I just did really helps prevent you from breaking your plastic. It takes a little longer to do it this way. You can also put your file in a drill and go slow. That will also work. Just make sure you're going in reverse, not forward, because look how if you twist that and you go forward, how it immediately begins to cut. And unless you're just really careful, you can break that plastic. And that looks like that might be okay. Still pretty tight. It's not seating quite as well as it could. And those pegs may need to come off actually. They may not be matching up perfectly with the holes. I mean, the idea here when I did this was I copied a bumper just like this because these two bumpers are interchangeable. But nothing is ever perfect, it seems, or it's very difficult to get it right the first time and even the second time. And those pegs are not going in there. What we will do is see if we can make that work. By using the screw to tighten that up. And there we go. Not bad, not perfect, not bad. Might need to do just a little work to make that look on there or set on there straight, but that is really pretty darn good. That is going to be okay, I think. This again is version 2.0, and the first version of this was exceptionally wide. I don't even know where I put those. I have them around here someplace. But it was at least 3 millimeters, 4 millimeters too wide, and so this has been cleaned up and looks really good. We'll set that there. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you're in love with the idea of your hood opening, such as this one, the hood opens up quite well actually. Once you put that bumper on there, your hood doesn't open anymore. Which, for some guys, that's a pretty big deal, and others it's not. I think what I'm going to do is just I'll let that be, and then we will see how this looks with one of these on. Now I'm just going to dry fit this, just so we can kind of get an eyeball on here and see how it's going to be. And right like that. So what will happen is you're going to glue this directly to the bumper after you Molotow chrome it or chrome it in some fashion. So after you chrome it or paint it or whatever you want to do to it, this will glue straight to the bumper that's already there. And as you can tell, it's a slippery little devil, and that's the way that's going to look right there. And then we can go to the larger one here and see how that's going to work. And that's not too bad. That's going to be okay, I think. That's going to be all right. And just for fun, I did go ahead and grab a Freightliner, because that's what this was intended for to begin with. And voila, there we go. It's going to work for the Freightliner well. and almost a little better on the Freightliner because that bumper is taller, and that's how that's going to work. So I think I'm happy with the progress we've made here, and I believe this is going to be just a-okay the way they are. So this is version 2.0, version 1.0. Needed some adjustment, made those adjustments, and now we have 2.0, and here we are. I believe I'm in love. All right. And we have this one that I think that's going to work. May need to cut those pegs off the bottom of that so it sits flat against the die cast. The idea was to make that so it would work just like the factory one, but getting everything to come together perfectly, I don't know. A guy might be able to drill out the holes in the die cast down there, because you can see here, I don't know if right here perhaps you can see at the end of that screwdriver, the peg from the front suspension does not go all the way into this die cast on the frame, meaning you can't, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but there's a little gap between that bumper, that plastic bumper, and the die cast. So there's probably a couple of options here going forward to make that work better. One would be to, I think, cut those pegs clear off. Because see these pegs right here? They fit in right there. And these pegs on the factory bumper are noticeably smaller than these pegs on the 3D printed model. Do they serve a huge purpose? Probably just to keep this from, over time, being able to move like so. However, if you guys treat your models like I treat mine, I normally don't, once I get them, I don't do much with them other than customize them and set them around on my layout. And if a friend comes over, we might run them around and make Jake brake noises. So now that I've cut those, that's very noticeable right there. You can see that sets much better just by cutting those pegs off. And I won't put in the wheels here. We'll just, okay. And then in here, now you can see without the wheels, the peg from the suspension goes into the die cast really well on both sides. And that does move that up. Yeah, that's actually better. That's going to be the solution, is to remove those pegs. Okay, now that I have this done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to batch these in groups of 10. And what I plan to do is to, so I'll put 10 of these different bumpers on a wire, and then I'll have them printed, and then I'll have chrome versions of this made as well as paintable versions. So if a guy wants to paint them white or black or maybe aluminum, you'll have that option as well. Pretty cool. All right, that's what I have for you. Thanks for watching this unboxing video, and look for these bumpers probably in 30 to 35 days at rockinghfarmtoys.com. Also, if you want to learn how to do this, how to hire designers and where to do 3D printing and all the things you need to learn about that, go to diecastlab.com. In my membership site, I've got everything I've ever learned about 3D printing outlined right there. There's even a few videos showing you how to do some design work, although 90% of my work has been hired out by third parties. I've hired guys all over the world, and they have filled in the gaps of my knowledge, because I'm not an expert designer, and to get some of this intricate stuff done is just well beyond my ability. Anyways, long story short, I'll teach you how to hire, who to hire, where to find them, everything you need to know about 3D printing at diecastlab.com. And it's all using third parties. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll see ya.